Hola, buenos días, mis amigos, y feliz jueves. Amigos, bear with me today as I attempt to teach a grammar lesson from here at home. In my 23 years, this is certainly never anything I could have imagined doing. Recording a video over direct object pronouns here in my kitchen on a poster that I deconstructed and put backwards so I could have a whiteboard. But this is the last grammar lesson that I need to teach you before we leave for spring break. Once we're back from spring break, I know we're in kind of a crazy situation. We are going to move forward to the best of our ability, and we're going to do some groundwork for learning the preterite tense. And then when we're back in May, we're going to hit the ground running, and we're going to finish strong by learning the preterite tense. But for the next month, during these e-learning opportunities, I'm going to have to get used to providing you some lessons like this. And I encourage you to take it just like you would in the classroom. So saquen los apuntes, get out your notes. And as you're watching the video, feel free to pause it every once in a while and jot down questions that you might have for me. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to post a discussion on Canvas where you can get on Canvas and ask questions about the direct objects, direct object pronouns, sample sentences, your homework assignments. And that way, not only can I see those questions, but your classmates can see them as well, because you and I both know it's the same at home as it is in the classroom. If one of you has a question, probably 20 of you are thinking the same thing. So we're going to do this together. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the lesson for today is direct objects and direct object pronouns. And the really good news is this. We've already kind of talked about it a little bit. In your Canvas module, I've provided you with a lot of resources, and you have quite a few resources like this in your packet as well that you can read through and follow along. I've given you additional videos that you can watch, and you also know the power of Google, so you can at any time after this lesson go on and research direct object pronouns in Spanish, and you can find tons of videos and written lessons to help you out. So before we get started on direct objects and direct object pronouns, I went ahead and wrote up a few things that we need to know before we get started. So we're going to recap our object pronouns that we have learned so far, starting with reflexive object pronouns. Remember, reflexive object pronouns, or ROPs, are the object pronouns that imply that a verb is being done to oneself. So to wash one's hair is lavar se. That's a reflexive pronoun because I'm doing the washing and I'm washing my own hair. Our ROPs, our reflexive object pronouns, are me, te, se, no, se, and they cover the words myself, yourself, himself, herself, ourselves, or themselves. And I've got a few sample sentences here for you. The first one is me lavo, and you can see that this is a reflexive because the verb is in the yo form, meaning I'm doing the washing, and you have the me, which means I am washing myself. This is in the yo form. This is in the yo form, which makes it a reflexive verb. Our next sample sentence is quieres lavarte. Again, this is reflexive because quieres is in the to form, lavar is in the infinitive, te is in the to form, meaning you want to wash yourself or you want to get washed up. To form and to form means that those are reflexive. Okay, so we move over to indirect object pronouns. Indirect object pronouns answer the question to whom, or who is the action happening to. Our indirect object pronouns are me, te, le, nos, and lace, very similar to our ROPs, but you can see that the third person singular and third person plural are different. My sample sentences for IOPs are le hablo a él. This is an indirect because you notice that the verb is in the yo form. I am the talker. I talk. Le to him or to her. Now, as is, I wouldn't know. It could be to him, to her, to you, formal, or to any singular verb or noun. But I put my emphasis here. Remember, emphasis is super importante when we're doing indirect object pronouns. So now we know not only am I talking to him or her, but I specified I'm talking to him. The next sample is no debes hablarme. This is another example of an indirect object pronoun. No debes means you shouldn't. Hablar, talk. may to me. This is not reflexive because this is in the to form and this is in the yo form. That can't be reflexive. It must be indirect. You shouldn't talk to me. Now, the reason I gave you these two sample sentences are because I want to remind you of our rules of pronoun placement. Now, this is where it could get a little bit confusing, but you know enough to understand the differences. We just finished with mandatos. And remember, for mandatos, we had to learn two new rules of pronoun placement before the negative attached to the affirmative. And we had to do that because commands are conjugated. Well, we are now reverting back to our original rules because we do have conjugated and we do have infinitive. So we're back to our original rules, which state, write this down, before the conjugated attached to the infinitive. And we can see this in action. The first sentence on both of these shows us rule number one, before the conjugated. I wash myself. I wash is a conjugated myself before the conjugated. Or I talk, conjugated, to him, putting it before the conjugated. But we know there are reasons why we don't conjugate verbs. The number one reason that we know, and we learned way back in Spanish 1, is you can't conjugate two verbs in a row. So in this case, quieres is a conjugated verb. The next verb is lavar, and then we change up the pronoun and attach it to the end because we attach to the infinitive, quieres lavarte. We did the same thing over here. No debes. Debes is a conjugated verb. We leave the next verb in the infinitive, hablar, and we put on the indirect object pronoun me, which means to me. No debes hablarme. So those are your reflexive object pronouns and your indirect object pronouns in a nutshell. So pause here, and if you have any questions, jot them down, and we'll be right back with direct object pronouns. Okay, mis amigos, back at it with direct objects and direct object pronouns. So we start with a direct object. And first of all, it's important to understand the purpose of a direct object. A direct object and or direct object pronoun answer the question what? Or en español. Okay. What receives the action, the direct action of a verb? For example, if I throw a pencil, what did I throw? Right, a pencil. That is my direct object. Or if I wrote a letter, what did I write? A letter. That is my direct object. So the easiest way to do it is find your verb and ask yourself the question, what? I threw the ball. Threw what? The ball. I ate the sandwich. Ate what? The sandwich. You get the idea. So we're going to jump right into it. So we're going to start with some sample sentences in English first, because I just want to make sure that you understand what a direct object or a direct object pronoun is. All right. So the first sentence is, I need the glass. The verb is to need. And what do I need? Right, the glass. The glass is my direct object. Next question or next sentence. She washes the dishes. The verb, washes. What does she wash? The dishes. That's my direct object. Two more. They sing the song. The verb is sing. And what do they sing? The song. Good. And the last sentence for practice is Paco finishes the assignments. All right. Paco finishes what? Finishes is the verb. The assignments is the direct object. Okay. Here's my son Tyler behind the computer. Okay. All right. So, right now, these are all direct objects. Now, what is the purpose of a direct object pronoun? The direct object pronoun simply replaces the direct object so that we're not being redundant. If I go into Abigail's room and I say, Abigail, did you do your homework? Most likely she's not going to be responding by saying, yes, I did my homework. She'll finish it by saying, yes, I did it. It is my direct object pronoun that replaces the actual direct object. It replaces the noun, right? So instead of I threw the ball, I threw it. I wrote the letters, I wrote them. Typically, our direct object pronouns are going to be the words it or them. So that's where we're going to focus first. But you will find that there can be additional direct object pronouns. We'll talk about those later. But for right now, we're going to focus on the words it or them. So let's start in English. I need the glass. Well, what pronoun is going to replace the glass? It. I hope you can see that. She washes the dishes. Instead of the dishes, she washes them. They sing the song will be replaced by they sing it. And Paco finishes the assignments. Paco finishes them. Okay, so we've got it down in English. Let's talk Espanol. So we're going to break it down into our quadrant like we always do. And we're going to leave these categories blank for right now, and we're going to focus on the it and them side of it. Our pronouns are lo, la, los, and los. Okay, so Paco or I need the glass. The glass, I'm going to help you out here. The glass is el vaso. So take a second and figure out which one of these, lo, la, los, or las, would replace el vaso. If you said lo, you're on the right track, right? Because el vaso is singular and it's masculine, so it's going to be lo. So it in this case is lo. Very good. Muy bien. She washes the dishes. Do you guys remember what the dishes are? The dishes are los platos. So again, take a second and figure out which one of these four, lo, la, los, or las, will replace los platos. If you said los, you're doing great. Because los platos, we know, is masculine plural. We're going to go to the los. So instead of them, it's going to be los. All right. They sing the song. The song? La canción. La canción. And the pronoun for la canción would be la, right? Okay, because la canción is singular and it's feminine. And the last one, Paco finishes the assignments. The assignments are las tareas. Sounds weird, but tarea can be assignment and homework, so you're not really saying the homeworks. You're saying the assignments. And which DOP is going to replace las tareas? You guessed it, it's going to be las. Okay, so that's how we have determined so far which direct object pronouns we are going to use. I need the glass, el vaso. El vaso, lo. She washes the dishes. The dishes are los platos. Los platos replaced with los. They sing the song. The song is la canción, replaced with la. And Paco finishes the assignments. Assignments is las tareas, replaced with las. Now, we're going to pause the video here, and what I want you to do is I want you to figure out how you would say each of these sentences completely in Espanol. We're going to do the first one together. So we have, I need the glass. Okay? And we've already broken it down to do everything that we need to do. We conjugate I need. I need, of course, is necesito. Okay? Now we don't want to say I need the glass. We want to say I need it. And we've determined that it is lo. Now, go back to our rules of pronoun placement. Our rules of pronoun placement say before the conjugated, attached to the infinitive. Well, we look at our verb. Is it conjugated or is it infinitive? Right, it's conjugated. So where are we going to put our DOP? Before. So it is going to read lo necesito. I need it. Okay, I'm going to pause the video. You're going to take a look at this, and you are going to determine right now how you would say she washes the dishes, they sing the song, and Paco finishes the assignments. Buena suerte. Okay, mis amigos, let's see how we did. So she is the doer. She washes what? She washes the dishes. We had already determined that we would use los to replace los platos. So let's start with she washes and decide right away, are we going to conjugate that or leave that infinitive? And of course, we're going to conjugate it. She washes, which would be ella lava. Now, of course, I know what's coming, so I left room for this. You're going to have to mentally get used to doing this so that you can know the order before you even write it. If this is conjugated, we're going to put los where before the conjugated, so it's going to become ella los lava. She washes them, or them, she washes. They sing the song. They is ellos. We're going to conjugate it. They sing, ellos cantan, right? And we determined that we would replace the song, la canción, with la. And because this is conjugated, we're going to put it in front. Ellos la cantan. They sing it. And finally, Paco finishes the assignments. Paco to finish his terminar. So Paco termina. We already decided that the assignments was las tareas and it would be replaced with las. So Paco las termina. Okay, so that is rule number 1 before the conjugated verb. Okay, so we're going to keep these up here and I'm just going to ask you some basic questions. I'm going to give you some nouns and you're going to decide what direct object pronouns would replace the direct objects. Las gafas. Las. Good. El perro. Lo. La raqueta. La. La carta. La. El mar. Lo. Las olas. Las. El baño. Lo. La plancha. la, las nubes, las, nuestras botas, las, mis pelotas, pelotas, las. Good. All right. So you can listen to decide really quickly when you're listening to a Spanish noun, decide whether it is masculine, feminine, singular, plural. Okay. All right, so we have the sentence, tengo las botas. Remember, las botas means the boots, right? Que bien, so tengo las botas, I have the boots. But now I want to say I have them. Not I have the boots, but I have them. So I want to replace the direct object with the direct object pronoun. Well, let's first of all find the direct object. Remember, we're answering the question, what? Tengo, ¿qué? What do I have? The boots, las botas. So we'll get rid of las botas. And I am visually crossing this out. I know we can't do that mentally, but right now I'm going to do that because I can tell you that one of the #1 mistakes that my kids do is that they add a direct object pronoun, but they also keep the direct object. So then the sentence reads, I have the boots, them. Remember, a direct object pronoun replaces the direct object. So I'm going to get rid of it. So visually, I know it's not there anymore. And I'm going to replace las botas with, of course, las. And I see that this is conjugated. So my rule says before the conjugated. So rewriting tengo las botas becomes las tengo. Okay, let's do another one. Elisa manda la carta. Mandar means to send. So the sentence right now reads, Elisa sends the letter. But I want to rewrite it and say that Elisa sends it. So I'm going to give you a second and see if you can do this on your own. Elisa sends it. Pause the video if you need. Okay, so you first of all have to ask yourself the question, what does Elisa send? ¿Qué manda Elisa? Elisa manda ¿qué? La carta. And we're going to get rid of la carta and replace it with la. This is a conjugated verb. Rewriting it would say Elisa la manda. Elisa la manda. Elisa sends it. Bien? Okay. Now remember though, we have 2 rules for pronoun placement. All we've been doing so far is rule number 1, before the conjugated. Let's do a couple of practice sentences using rule number 2 attached to the infinitive. Hopefully you can see that. It says, necesito escribir el ensayo. I need to write the essay. What do I need to write? El ensayo. Que necesito escribir el ensayo. Sí. So we're going to get rid of el ensayo and we're going to replace it with which DOP? Lo. Good, because el ensayo is masculine singular. Now, mis amigos, I need to write it. Therefore, I've conjugated the first verb. I leave the next one alone. That makes this verb infinitive. Where do I put my DOP with an infinitive? I attach it. So my new sentence is, Necesito escribirlo. I need to write it. Let's try one more, and I'm going to give you time to try this one on your own. Running out of room. Okay. Vamos a estudiar la información. We are going to study the information. Go ahead and rewrite this using a direct object pronoun. Que vamos a estudiar? What are we going to study? La información. Sí, we're going to study it. Okay, so we remember that ir plus a plus infinitive, and we're still with that rule that says attached to the infinitive. So we're going to write vamos a estudiar. ¿Y qué vamos a estudiar? What are we going to study? La información. So we get rid of the direct object, la información, and we replace it with our direct object pronoun, la. And our rule says, before the conjugated, attached to the infinitive. So vamos a estudiar la. Bueno? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple sentences I want you to try. We're going to up it a little bit because I'm going to put these sentences in English first. The first sentence is, my parents want the car. And my parents want to buy the car. So pause the video now, and in your notes, do both of these sentences, really paying attention to whether you're going to conjugate those verbs or leave them in the infinitive. Okay, so let's do the first one together. My parents want the car. My parents is mis padres. And to want is querer, so the parents' form of querer is quieren. Now, I have to think ahead of the game and go, all right, if I'm conjugating querer into quieren, that means that I'm going to have to put my pronoun where? Before the conjugated. So I'm going to go ahead and leave myself space. And my parents want what? The car. And the car is el carro. So what DOP replaces el carro? Good, lo. We're going to put it before the conjugated. The correct sentence should have read, mis padres lo quieren. My parents want it. Let's do the next one. My parents want to buy the car. We've added to buy in here, and that changes the entire structure of our sentence. Mis padres. It's still quieren, they want, but now they don't want the car, they want to buy the car. To buy is comprar. We're going to leave it alone because we can't conjugate two verbs in a row. They still want to buy what? The car, which is still lo, but now because this is in the infinitive, we're going to attach to the end. Mis padres quieren comprarlo. Bueno? All right, mis amigos. You have lots of different resources. I want you to use the resources in your packet, and I want you to work through them slowly but surely. I've also given you a secondary video to watch. Just really, really know the difference between your 3 types of pronouns, your ROP, your IOP, and your DOP, because sometimes you're going to see more than one, and you really have to know which is which. I send letters to Grandma. So in this case, we have both an indirect and a direct object pronoun. I send letters to Grandma. Well, what do I send? Letters, right? That is my DO. And who do I send letters to? Grandma. So Grandma is my indirect object. Now this seems very obvious, but let's look at the next sentence. I send Grandma letters. Okay, well, don't get confused by this because we tend to think that whatever is after the verb must mean our direct object. But what are we really sending? Right, we're sending letters. We're not sending Grandma, we're sending letters. And who are we sending letters to? We're sending letters to Grandma. Notice we don't hear the word to, but we have to know enough about our grammar to know that she is still the recipient. It's who we're sending letters to. One more lesson, mis amigos, and then we're going to call it done until after spring break. Remember how when we filled out the direct object pronoun grid, I left 3 blank? Well, we need to conquer those 3. Okay. So we already determined that we would have low, la, los, and loss. Low and la, replacing the word it, and los and loss, replacing the word them. But a direct object pronoun could also be may. A direct object pronoun could also be te. You probably guessed that, right? And we can also do an educated guess up here and say that the last one would be nos. Now, if you haven't paid attention to grammar, this might get a little bit confusing because your head might be spinning right now going, wait a minute, may, te, and nos are the same for reflexives, they're the same for indirects, and they're the same for directs? And the answer is C. That is correct. So contextually, you're going to have to know, okay, is this for reflexive, indirect, or direct? So a big question my kids always have is, how can a person be a direct object pronoun? How can a person be a what? Okay, so let's say that I have a soccer ball. Okay, and I'm going to kick the soccer ball to Paco. What did I kick? The soccer ball. The soccer ball is my direct object. It's what I kicked directly. And who did I kick the soccer ball to? I kicked the soccer ball to Paco. Paco was my indirect object. So I directly kicked the ball, and indirectly I kicked it to Paco. But let's say Paco's my big brother, and I get mad at him, and I walk up and I kick Paco directly. Well, then all of a sudden, Paco became my direct object. He is who I kicked directly. So if my son, Tyler, gets the baseball bat, right? And he hits the ball. Well, what did he hit? The ball, right? The ball is the direct object. But let's say he's not paying attention and I'm walking around the corner and boom, he hits me. On accident, of course, but nevertheless, he hit me. Well, I become what? The direct object because he hit me directly, accident or not. I become a direct object, the thing that he hit. In this case, it would be me. Golpear is to hit. So él me golpeó. He hit me. So this is how people can also become direct object pronouns. Let's try one, and then I promise we're done for now. If you are watching this all the way through, and I certainly hope that you are, but if you are, I want you to know how incredibly proud I am that we are doing this together. It is not easy. It's definitely very weird for all of us, I know, but if you are sticking through this and watching this entire lesson, kudos to all of us because we're about done with it. And I promise hopefully, we'll get better at this as the month progresses and I do a little bit more of it. But you guys are awesome for watching, for taking notes, for being those super stellar students that I know you are because, yeah, we have to get through this. We have to get through this material and be ready to finish the year strong. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking notes. Thank you for posting questions on the discussion board after this. Thank you for taking this seriously and for just being you, for being the awesome kids that you are. And for those of you who sent me selfies yesterday, you made my heart happy for sure. I definitely had some tears going on. I know I'm sappy, but I did because I miss your faces. And I would give anything to be in front of you right now teaching this, but this is the best we're going to do. So we're almost done. You guys are awesome, and I'm super proud of you. So one more sample sentence, and then I will say adios, I promise. Okay. Let's do this. She kisses you. Okay. Now in this case, she's the doer. Kisses is the verb. What does she kiss? You. Good. So you are the direct object. We're going to replace the direct object with a direct object pronoun. So what direct object pronoun replaces you? Right. Te, not to. To is meaning you're doing something. Te means you are the direct object pronoun. To kiss, do you guys remember what kiss is? Yeah, some of you will. To kiss is besar. We had that in one of our antemanos, and it was also in the song Bésame. So besar is to kiss. So let's try this one. She kisses you. She kisses. Ella besa. We already determined that te is our direct object pronoun. This is a conjugated verb. So where's that going to go? Before the conjugated. Ella te besa. Or she kisses me. Ella me besa. Or she kisses us. Ella nos besa. She kisses him. Ella lo besa. She kisses them. Ella los besa. Okay, recap. Reflexive object pronouns. Doing the verb to oneself. Me te se no se. Indirect object pronouns. Doing the verb to someone else. Me te le nos les. Don't forget emphasis. And now direct object pronouns that answer the question, what? What receives the action of the verb? And our direct object pronouns, me, te, lo, la, nos, los, las. Rules of pronoun placement, before the conjugated, attached to the infinitive. Do your worksheets. Work through them the best you can. Write down the questions that you have, post those on the discussion, send them out on Remind. I will be here all day today and all night tonight to answer your questions. Go into spring break feeling like you've got a firm grasp on what direct objects and direct object pronouns are. And when we come back from break, we will recap this lesson a little bit, do a few more practice activities, but then we've got to conquer the preterite tense. I miss y'all. I hope you're staying at home, social distancing, taking care of things like we're supposed to, because I really want to see you back el uno de mayo. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Mil besos. Adios.